So what we're going to now do is let's consider the pattern of thinking, like worrying, self-doubt, and fear. They're just all habits. And we talked about this earlier when I was coaching one of the participants. And if you repeat these through patterns of that, and you won't even realize that you're repeating these patterns. So that's the key. What patterns of behavior do you have that you're doing without realizing it? So what we're going to do is look at on page 15 of your workbook. So those of you who've got workbooks and those of you who haven't, it's called Action. And what we're going to do is take your 3 goals that you had, and we're going to look at what action you need to take immediately in the next 24 hours. What one single action would move you towards that goal? Yeah, that's fine, don't worry, that's okay. So what one action will take you towards that goal? Because the key thing is, it's actions that will make that happen. And it's that immediacy. It's like, you know, when you go into an event, and I do this, and this is something that I'm always working on, and you want to go and say hello to somebody, and you wait. And because you wait, you sabotage that inner voice inside you that says it's too late now. And then you don't go and say hello to someone. Everyone follow that? Everyone have that experience? You want to go and say hello, you end up hesitating, and then you miss the opportunity. So it's kind of like we have these things that we sabotage our success. And what we want to do now is ensure that all those things that we put down earlier, we're going to take action on. So take your 3 goals and put actions against them, the thing that you can do within 24 hours. So if you've said that you want to, create the body of your dreams and lose weight, for example, then what's the action? You're going to book yourself into a spinning class, or you're going to go home and chuck all the rubbish that's in your fridge and your larder in the bin, the stuff that you know that you shouldn't be eating, for example. If you want to learn a new language or to sing or dance, you go and book yourself a lesson so that that can happen, and then you commit that within 24 hours. So, because remember what we said earlier, setting goals is the first step to turning the invisible into visible. So it's about what the actions you're going to take now. And by when you're waiting, you're doubting, you're holding back, you're staying silent, you're feeling insecure, avoiding, and you're worrying, you're overthinking, that's when you become inactive. And I coached earlier one of the participants in some of those conversations, and we all got those. So you want to have the courage to start, if you have the courage to succeed, and there's obviously we're going to show you a book that we've read called Atomic Habits as well. So let's now do that on page 15. You've got 3 or 4 minutes if you want to write down what the actions against those 3 goals that you did earlier. We'll play a little bit of music, and then we'll come back, and we will take just a little bit of sharing from just a couple of people. So get ready to share what your 3 actions are, so others can, when they see the kind of things you're doing, you inspire others into action as well. Because it's all about the massive action that you're going to take. None of this stuff's going to get achieved without taking action. Okay? The vision board is not enough in itself. You have to drive yourself to make a difference in your actions. So let's play some music, and I'll give you a couple of minutes. So your actions have to become a habit over time. And we talked about your thinking creates your feelings, creates your actions, creates your results. So as you take actions, so you create your habits. And then what you need is a good system that creates that habit. Because the problem with trying to create a habit and keep those actions going consistently is you stop doing things. You have the energy and you have the drive to do it for a few minutes or a few days or a few months, and then it all falls off. So what kind of systems could you have? And earlier I spoke to the first Louise about put yourself into a group. Put yourself in a WhatsApp group, meet people on Zoom now, but in person as and when we can. Create people around you, a peer group that will make that impact. So let's just share with you some of the things that some of you might be doing, but for those who are not, let me see if we can prompt you into creating systems. Because what you'll find is those who don't achieve things as much as others, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they don't have a good system around them to help them achieve those goals. Do we follow? So let's have a look at some systems. So let's look at the first one that we're going to share with you. So if you want to get healthy, one of the things that you could do is go and book yourself into a retreat. So this is myself and Anita and some good friends of ours, Rita and Jeff. And for the last 4 years, obviously 2020 we didn't go, but we've been going on health retreats. And that's had a huge impact on our health over the last 4 years. And year on year, what we've done is we've cranked up our health goals because we've gone to different health retreats and got different information. And on the last health retreat, which was in Bodrum, which is this picture here where I'm looking reasonably trim, that was the most, because we've been building on bit by bit our kind of knowledge about health and well-being. This was kind of like the next level of thinking and how we reinforced that. And one thing I started doing there, which is now 18 months ago, is intermittent fasting. So I've been doing intermittent fasting now for like 14 to 16 hours for 6 to 7 days a week now. And it's become part of a habit. It's part of who I am now. And for me, I rarely do breakfast. I'm not saying you should do it. Check it out. But in terms of creating that into a habit, it's now become a habit. And for the first time properly in my life, I have proper weight control. I can manage my weight. Anita's going to keep clicking. So you could have, obviously, I've got an Apple Watch. That can help you track your movements, your steps, and so on. So get yourself a watch, for example. And if you see the next slide, that was last year, I think it was, when I did this presentation. It was a few years ago now. You can see December, then you can see January. In January, I committed, and you can see the rings there of, and then there are things like that. And Simran talked earlier about playing games with yourself in that respect. These things help you try to see and measure what you're doing. And then it creates that desire to move forward and finish the rings, for example, late at night. And many of you can relate. How many of you got Fitbits and Apple Watches where you want to beat someone or you want to finish your ring? You end up walking around the room late at night before it's midnight so that you can get your rings completed. I bet some of you have done that, right, guys? Come on, own up. It's not just me. Yeah, and if you're in a group, you don't sync your watch until the last minute so they can't see how you've done. So if you move on to the next slide, you'll see basically nowadays there's an app for everything. There really is. If you want to get mastery in something, go on the internet, go on YouTube, find an app, all right? One of my daughters and I, we've been playing chess since we've been watching the Queen's, Queen's Gambit. We've been playing chess with each other. Even when she's at university, we can keep in touch and we can play chess. So there's all sorts of things. This is the Truby app where we've been doing yoga, and we started doing yoga and we're getting more and more into yoga. So, now with lockdown, we've got Tati, who's our dear friend who does yoga with us online. If you want to look after yourself, urban massage. I haven't used urban massage since lockdown, but there's all sorts of ways of looking after your health and well-being, goal-setting apps as well. And just want to ask, what apps do you use? In the chat, if you can just put in the chat, what apps are you using right now to support you so that we can share that knowledge and information with each other? Trello. So give each other ideas, because when you see that someone else is using an app, have a guess what? You think, maybe I could use that. Fitbit. Someone's on an intermittent fasting group, that really helps. I'm on an app that does that. Calm, I use that as well. Headspace, Day One, Sage Robbins, Health app, Apple app, Jason Velf, he's a juice guy, Run Tracker. So you can see, look, people are using these apps. So if you're not using an app and you want to get mastery on something, go and find an app. Go and find someone. You've got your social media channels, put in there. If I want to watch a great film one evening, I'll just say, want to watch a great film, something that really moves me. And all my friends on Facebook then will give me suggestions. We have such an ability to communicate and a diverse community. Let's make best use of it. Don't stay quiet. Ask questions, and it really will make a difference. So habits, change your identity. Who do you wish to become? As you move your habits, you go from habits, become your character, and that's who you become. And somebody was asking earlier, what is this thing about being? And this is what we're talking about here, is who you're being. And if we move to the next slide, so we're going to talk about some of the language that we use. Often we say, I want to read a book. If we said, I want to become a reader, that would be far more powerful. Or I want to run a marathon, I want to become a runner, learn an instrument, is to become a musician, to go on a diet. So many people say, I want to go on a diet, I need to go on a diet, I need to lose weight. It's so uninspiring. What about, I want to have a healthy lifestyle? Because most of us know that diets don't work. If people are single, I want to get married. How about I want to become a great spouse? I really want to become the great wife or husband. And guess what? Your ability and opportunity to attract the right person in your life will increase tenfold because you're going to draw that person into your life. You can see the difference, yeah? So how about, as we said about language, how often do we hear these phrases? How many times have you said this? Oh, I'm not a morning person. Oh, I'm always late, as if it's okay. I always fall back on my old ways, I start something and I'll fall back. Oh, I'm not good with technology. I'm not so sure about these apps. Or, oh, I'm rubbish at directions. I'm terrible at remembering names. So what happens there? You create that identity. What happens if you upgrade your beliefs? So just have a think what you'd have to say instead of. And we're not going to ask you to shout it out, but have a think. What would you say instead of, I'm not a morning person? What would you need to say instead of, I'm always late? Because the more you keep saying the phrases, the more you'll stay stuck. Yeah. And for the participant I coached earlier around having fear and contemplating, the more she keeps running that, the more she'll stay stuck. So so have a look at those and see how you need to change those. So Anita's kindly moved me on, which means keep going. So ask yourself, what would a healthy person do? So when you're about to do something, and I've got to question that myself because I've eaten a bit more of the wrong foods again, so I need to start to modify that. What would a leader do? What would a person of integrity do? And then you start taking action that's now commensurate with the new you, the person you're being is created, the person whose being is being on time, person who shows up as a leader, the person who is the example of being healthy. How many of you have been out to a restaurant or somewhere and you fancy having some chips, for example, and everyone else is eating a salad, and you just don't want to ask to order those chips because you're inspired by or led by the people that are there? Or someone orders a portion of chips and then suddenly everyone's having portions of chips. So the peer group that you surround yourself with is really, really important. So one of the things I want to say is that we perform to the expectations of our peer group. Many of us will have heard this before, and we're the average of the top 5 people around us. And it's very hard to be a leader and lead people. You often end up being like the people around you. So make sure you choose the peer group around you. Love your family and choose your friends is what Tony Robbins often would say, which means make sure you hang around with the people that are going to inspire you and move you to the next level. So what we're going to do next is who will your accountability partner be or champion be? I think it's in your workbooks. I think you've got a section in there. It's for the goals that you want to achieve. I know Anita did put something in there. Let me just see if I can find it.
Son. Oh. Okay, they can write it anywhere.
Yeah, you can write it anywhere, but who's the person that for your goals, and it may be different people for different goals. Okay, it's on page 10 for those of you who got the workbooks, but it really doesn't matter where you put it. So you may have one accountability partner, you may have more. There may be somebody, because you want to pick an accountability partner, right, that is really powerful in that area, as opposed to someone who's going to, when you're out in a restaurant, you've committed that you're going to have a salad, they're sitting there eating a bag of chips, in front of you. They're probably not going to be your great accountability partner. So pick accountability partners that probably already are a bit further ahead of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, because guess what? They'll have taken those actions in order to have got there. So have a think about some of those actions that you've taken, or the actions that you've written down. Who could help you achieve those goals and take those actions and make them happen? So it's going to give you a minute or so to have a look at that, and if you write those down, and then we'll come back and then we'll keep going. They'll give you about a minute, we'll play some music, and we'll come back. So Tasneem's asking more about the accountability partner. How can it help? So the whole point of accountability is kind of like, when you're going to the gym by yourself and you wake up in the morning and you think, I don't know if I really want to go. But when you know your mate's going to meet you there, your friend, at that time, you're less likely to cancel. Is that right? Would you agree? So the whole point is you've now created some accountability here of not letting someone down. And the whole point of picking an accountability partner who's someone who's going to say to you that, first of all, you're going to give them permission to whip your backside when you don't do it. So don't pick someone who you know is a pushover. You want an accountability partner that holds you absolutely accountable. So if you say, I'm not going to eat, use that example, I'm not going to eat chips anymore for a month or for a year, and you go out for dinner with them, they're the person that's going to grab that plate off of you or stop you ordering it in the first place. That's what an accountability partner is. So they're the ones who are going to hold you to your word. Okay? So, just having a look at the chat. Lisa, Russell, everyone. Okay, fab. So I'm going to keep moving. Oh, you don't need that. So hire a professional trainer, coach, or mentor. Really powerful. I've had a coach for many, many years on and off. I've had mentors and I've had personal trainers as well. Thank you for my water. Very, very powerful. In fact, online I've got Will Steele, who is an ex-forum leader, who's incredibly powerful and has really been helping me over the last 9 months or so in order to achieve my goals. And so, the whole coaching industry is huge now over the last 20 years. You will not have a shortage of people to find who will help support you in achieving your goals. And you think about it, the best football players, the best sports people, the best of any kind of industry will have someone who will make them even better. So it's absolutely critical. If you want to excel at anything that you want in life or achieve your goals, get someone that's going to help you get there. It's absolutely worth it. And the next slide is really telling you about hang out with the people that you want to be like. because you will end up with like the people that you hang out with. That's absolutely goes without saying. So make sure you choose your friends wisely. The next thing I want to talk about is people say, I don't have time. I don't have time means it's not a priority. It really isn't. So, example, I've been meaning to write a book for the last, must be 10 years. It still hasn't got written fully yet. It's in its draft stage. I really want to do it, but it's not a must. It's not a priority. I've got other things that I have currently decided that are a bigger priority. And within that, there's mixed all sorts of other things like fear and other things. But I haven't made it a priority. It's not I don't have time. And I had that coaching last week when I was on an event that I put myself to be vulnerable about, and I got some coaching around it. So either decide you're going to do it or decide you're not going to do it. But in living this space of, having these excuses is not powerful at all. How many of us can relate to that? We don't make it a priority, but we keep saying we're going to do it, and we have no real full intent of getting it done, and it might happen by magic. Yeah? Can we relate to that? Okay. So, because the other thing is when we say, I haven't got time, someone showed me this example. 24 hours a day means we've got 168 hours a week. And if we sleep for 8 hours and work for 8 to 10 hours a day, that leaves us around 42 to 56 hours a week for doing other stuff. So if you want to become an expert in anything, or you want mastery over everything, if you allocated a couple of hours every single week, you could really achieve your goals. So that means I have to write my book now. So I need somebody to hold me accountable for that. But let's move on to habit tracker. So you can have a habit tracker. These are just ideas that we put into our slides just to give you thoughts about how you can achieve your goals. So in your habit tracker, you put down all the things you want. I used to do this quite a bit because it gave me quite a lot of satisfaction to tick the boxes as I did them. And it was kind of like nice because you wanted to make sure that you didn't miss out on something. Because when you had these straight runs of ticks, you'd go that extra mile. It's like playing a game with yourself again, as Simran was saying. And these things just help you visualize and keep into existence how you're going to achieve those goals. Another big one is putting it in your diary. Yeah, I know of me and many of you, you use Outlook or some other form of diary management. And I know for me, if it's not in my diary, it's unlikely to happen. But magically, I run by my diary. If it's in my diary, it's most likely to happen. So if you're going to do stuff for the following week, like your yoga session, put it into your diary, book the session, and you're most likely to get it done. Morning rituals are extremely important, especially whilst we're in lockdown. It's so easy to roll out of bed 5 minutes before your Zoom call. My suggestion is really think about your morning rituals. Are you getting the exercise, going for that walk, doing your meditation, your yoga, your breathing, or whatever it might be, in the morning? So morning rituals are extremely important. And the other key thing is, look, if you fall off the wagon, if you commit to something and don't do it, the worst thing in the world, and I used to do this a lot, especially around my health, I'd commit to something and it wouldn't work. And I'd say, do you know what? That was a rubbish. That was a waste of time. I should never have bothered. So I'd say I failed. No, you haven't failed. All you do is you recommit and reset the clock. And that's one of the most powerful things I learned. Just because I said I wasn't going to eat chips, for example, let's use that example. Just because I ate chips one day doesn't mean I say I failed and give up. That is the easy cop-out. What I say to myself is, yes, I had a relapse. That's fine. Recommit and keep moving forward. How many of us abandon our goals? We beat ourselves up because we said we were going to do something and then we don't do it. And we go, right, forget that. That was a really bad idea. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I knew I couldn't trust myself. And then you stop. Yeah? I think there's a few nods and a few smiles on the screens. And this is one of the most powerful things. So, and a quote that I think is really powerful is that knowledge becomes really useful when we use it to take consistent and massive action to produce the results we call success. Yeah, knowledge becomes really useful when we use it to take consistent and massive action to produce the results we call success. And again, I've quoted Tony Robbins a few times here because he's obviously been a very powerful person in my life. So legacy. So as part of goals, the legacy statement. So if you forwarded your clock to when you're much, much older, and you're in your rocking chair and you're thinking about your life, what would you be saying? So, just you're in your rocking chair, what would you be saying to yourself about your life? What have been your biggest achievements? What legacy have you left behind? How many lives did you touch? What was the impact that your life has had on the generation that is following you? And what legacy will you leave behind after you've taken your last breath? So when you write out your legacy statement. I think we've got a section in your workbook. What is your life going to be about? And it is on page, no, this is the wrong page. Right, page 16 of your workbook. So, and just remember, we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in a lifetime. So I'll just get my things together here. So we overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in a lifetime. So I want you to think about, what is your legacy statement? What is it that when you're either on your deathbed or in your rocking chair, and you're reflecting back on your life in a care home or at home, etc., what are you going to be saying that your life is about? So you've got a few minutes, just write down what your life has been. So what did you achieve? And make sure it's big. Make sure that you dream big. You achieved this, you made a difference here. You see what Vicky was saying. I built a care home in St. Lucia for older people. Just think of all the massive things that you could have achieved in your lifetime. And remember, make it big. And this is what will move you towards those goals. So we're going to play some music and give you about 5 minutes to do this. And just think, what's your life about? What is the legacy you want to leave behind for your children and for the future generations? What are you going to be remembered for? Remember, everyone's got a unique place on this earth, and what you're going to use yours for, so that when you are off this planet, you're thoroughly used up for everything that you've done. So 5 minutes, write down what your life's going to be about in your rocking chair statement. And we're going to play some music. Okay. So for Anita and myself, our legacy statement, and we tweaked it, and we're still working on our legacy statement, is to live, to learn, to laugh, to love, and to leave the world a better place. And I think we want to do some more work on this, because we actually want to make it much more smart and tangible about the impact and the difference. And I think one of the things that we haven't done, and I think this is a lesson for us, because each year we learn something out of these events as well, is that we haven't been as specific as we need to be on this. And I think what we want to do is actually put some numbers around that and the kind of things that will leave the world a better place, so that we know exactly what we know, what we're doing, but we haven't, I suppose, dared to put it in our legacy statement yet. And I think that's the next stage of being bold and putting it into there. So that's that. Now we're going to move into self as our final section of goals. So I think self is really, really powerful, because it's all about, like we said at the beginning, yes, you. So, and one of the biggest thing that we're going to talk about through the next few minutes that we have is self-worth, self-awareness, and self-development. How do you work on yourself? Because ultimately that's all there is. Everything else is kind of a figment of our imagination in many ways. The rest of it's just happening around us. It's ourself that we have to work on in order to have that fulfillment and have that joy and happiness that we're all seeking. So in life, I love these drawings. Life is like, we talked about climbing the mountain. It can be tough. It's hard work. We're going to see lots of obstacles on the way. We're going to really struggle at times, and so sometimes we're going to fall off. And the key is picking ourselves back up, hoisting ourselves back onto that mountain, and continuing that climb. And one of the key things that we want to do is, don't worry about that. 1 second, sorry, we've got a malfunction on our screen here. So I need to move the slide forward. It's all good fun here, is when we get to that peak, we want to get to, can you move the slide forward? Thank you. That's the summit. And then what happens when we get to the summit? We find other summits. We realize there's so much more that we could have achieved. Or there's so much more. There's the next goal and the goal after that. And the key thing that I've seen and learned is, as we're going up that summit, let's make sure we're helping others up along the way. We don't want to be like that lonely person on the top. You don't want to be the only person on the summit of your mountain. What if the summit, most people don't think of the summit as being flat. They think of it as a peak where one person can stand. But what if it was where you could have lots of people jumping and having fun, and you all celebrating together? Wouldn't that be so much more fun, where you enjoy your success with others? So one of the key things that I wanted to share with you, we've got a short video of a trip that we made to India as part of our own self-awareness, giving back, and our own self-growth and self-development. And I wanted to just give you a few minutes and indulge you in this video. So if you sit back and just listen to this video and watch.
My name is Avnish Goyal. I am the founder of the Hemraj Goyal Foundation. The vision of the foundation that I felt that I wanted to create nearly 10 years ago has really taken a whole nother level in these last couple of weeks. Kind of in line with everything that I imagined and so much more. For me, giving is living. And the growth that I've experienced over the last few weeks, along with everybody that's been on this trip, has just been truly remarkable.
The car rally, wow. The women's car rally, it's the 14th year that this has been organised by a gentleman named Sanjay Kaushik.
Great vision, I think, in terms of 14 years. So if you go back 2005, started this really to empower women who are doing all sorts of things.
To come together, to be empowered, to drive and race each other, to raise funds for their chosen charities.
So in Kathmandu Valley, there we were looking at where the brick making factories are.
I was fascinated to see how the bricks were made here by hand. The methods used were laborious, and there were women working alongside the men in very basic conditions. Seeing the children coming together to attend a school in a safe place, away from the dangerous conditions of their parent labourers, was so great to see. It was heartening to see how happy the children were with their interactions with the teachers. They were far safer being in the classroom, learning, whilst their parents earned a living. Street child works in some of the most marginalised communities, and this was definitely one of them.
And on the Monday, we started on our first project, which was Mighty Nepal. Seeing the whole setup and seeing what Anuradha Gorawala has set up in Kathmandu.
Just seeing what Anuradha's done, having that presentation first, that was just kind of a bit of a flavour of what she's built there with her team, and the amount of people that she's helping. I think that was the key thing when you saw the number of girls, children, women that were being supported. I think that was the scale of it was quite astounding. The extent of her work is not just human trafficking, that's a huge problem, but she's helping women in so many different areas.
I think if I hadn't gone to see Mighty Nepal, I really wouldn't have understood the scale of the project and also the sustainability at which Mighty Nepal is set up to be for years and years to come.
Yes, interesting. Today we don't actually have a building that we're going to. So I've been told there's going to be between 35 and 40 kids. It's a school on the street.
Manjeet is fantastic at delivering. She knows exactly the kind of content that she's covering that's appropriate, I think, for just the initial part of breaking the taboo and shame around talking about menstruation. So this morning's project going to Vatsalya, this is our second time that we've been, and every time we go, there's progress made. In fact, the first time we went, we were really, really impressed by what they had. The school is for the children that live there, and also the school is for the local villages. The children also come. Real integrated program where women come from the surrounding villages and they provide livelihood for their families.
What I see is that the amount of people that we've met, amount of amazing people that are just incredible human beings that just want to transform this world, are just out there. And if you put yourself out there to meet them, there's so many of them. My life in the last 2 weeks has been so enriched by meeting these people. It's kind of nourishment for my own soul.
Right. Thank you for listening to that. And, you know, one of the things that we've seen, and there's a full version of this is a 5-minute version of, we've got a 20-minute video that we're going to be releasing in the next few weeks for the whole trip. I mean, there's hours and hours of footage, but we've got a longer version of that. And I hope that you're starting to see some of the things that we're doing in order to develop ourselves. And one thing I've absolutely seen is that, you know, the quality of 2021 will be determined by how much we spend our time on others versus ourselves. The more we spend on ourselves, I think, is where the challenges lie. The more we do for others, the more we have an incredible 2021. And there's so much that's needed out in the world there. So what I'd really urge you to think about how we can make a difference to others. Because I know for me, when I'm speaking to you guys and I forget about myself, when the focus is not on me and the focus is on serving each and every one of you, I disappear. And all that's there is this person that wants to make a difference. So I just urge you to have a think for yourself. What does that mean for you? So we're going to move into the final stage. And one thing, we've got about 7 minutes and we will finish on time. But what I'm going to allow, for those who don't have to rush off, an opportunity for about 15 minutes for people to share their thoughts, their ideas, and so on. So it will end at 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and you're free to then leave. For those who want to stay, and we'll take some sharing, and we'll carry on the conversation for about 15 minutes or so. That's not a problem. So let me just very quickly now take you through some things of self. How do you develop yourself? How do you become self-aware? And these are the things. So for me, it's like, how do you learn things that have taken other people their lifetime or years and learn it in a matter of hours or minutes? And that is in many, many ways. The first one is books. And the very first book that I ever read, and if my uncle was on the line, I'm not sure if he is now, but my uncle from the US was the one who inspired me to read my very first personal development book over 24 years ago now, and it was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I can say that that was the start of my personal development journey. Absolutely has transformed my life. And this is just a selection of books there. I haven't read all of them that are there, but I've read a number of books over the years, and these days you can get all sorts of ways of reading books. And one of the things that we've done in our family last year, we haven't been so good about it this year, but we've got to get back on track, is we created a family book club where the whole family would read various books. And we've read some incredible books. The 6 of us would each recommend a book every month, but it ended up being every 2 months in the end. We've read some incredible books, and our knowledge and learning over those books have been absolutely outstanding. What we've learned about the world, about the legal system, about equality across the world, about Michelle Obama, for example, Becoming was one of the books. It's just been incredible. So a family book club is incredible. You can get podcasts and audibles and TED Talks nowadays that will summarize books. And here's some selection of books that we read as part of our book club last year. Absolutely incredible. When I'm in the gym on my cross trainer, I also listen to TED Talks. It's a fab way to exercise the brain as well as the mind, as well as the body. And so I end up listening to TED Talks, which is really good as well. And I don't know if Will's still here, but the Landmark educational programs are the things that I did 20 odd years ago. And I really urge and recommend you guys, if you haven't done these programs, to jump on board and do. And there's loads of programs these days. It does not have to be Landmark, but Landmark was one that absolutely has transformed my life. And Anita and I recorded a podcast last week. It's available online if you want to have a read of that, or listen to that. You'll see some of the breakthroughs that I had with my mum, for example, doing the Landmark program. I had many breakthroughs. So that's Landmark. So basically what we're saying here is, by developing yourself, you create that ability, that capacity to do more in your life. And from that, you become enriched. And I just want to put back on the slide that we had before around all the different things that I now do. And again, as I said to you right at the beginning, if someone had said to me 20 years ago, these are the things that you'll have either founded, or you'll be the chair of, or be a patron of, or an ambassador of, right? I would have said, absolutely no way. No way can that possibly happen. So what I want you to now do is just close your eyes, and we're just going to reflect just for 2 or 3 minutes. And we're going to play some music, and we're going to play some gentle music. Just close your eyes so we can finish on time. And I want you to just reflect on today. When you came in to the Zoom call. And so when you came into the Zoom call, how did you feel? And then throughout the course of the session today, the kind of thinking, the kind of ideas, the goals, the flashbacks, the insights, the conversations that you thought you were going to have, you want to have, the actions that you want to take. Just have a think now through all of that, how the day's gone, how you were inspired. How do you keep that momentum going? How do you create the structures around you, the support systems? And just reflect on 10, 20, 30 years' time. Just pick a time. Pick a time when you feel that those goals have been achieved. Who will you have become? What will you have achieved? What will be the things that will be in your life? The people, the family, the laughter, the atmosphere. How will you be? How will your health be? What impact on the world will you have had? What will the legacy that you're leaving behind be? How will that make you feel? And as you continue to breathe and keep your eyes closed, just feel that. Feel the pride in you. Start to live that feeling right now. And as you capture that feeling, start to think about how you're going to move yourself towards these wonderful goals that you've created today and the vision board that you've started, that you'll get to complete and share with the rest of the world. In a moment, when you're ready, just open your eyes and we'll have the final few words of the formal session where you're free to leave. So at 4 o'clock, you'll be all receiving a survey that will be coming out. SurveyMonkey, please, if you could fill that out. It's really valuable to us because it helps us think about our future programs. We were not planning to have many programs this year, but what COVID and online has kind of shown us is actually nothing needs to stop. We just have to adapt and do things differently. And in fact, it creates great opportunities. So we're now working through what does this mean now for us in terms of future. So if you could talk to us through the survey, tell us what you'd like to see more of, and we can see what we do in terms of future events. And if you liked it, tell everybody that you know, and if you didn't, or there's something that we know we can improve, then please let us know, because we're here to serve you. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask Anita to read one of my favorite quotes before my voice goes. And
Sure, this is Avnisha's favourite quote. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I? Who are you not to be?
who am I to be brilliant?
Sorry. Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This is by Marion Williamson. It's been an absolute honour to serve you all, and have a wonderful week and have an amazing, amazing year, and keep in touch with our social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wish you a fantastic 2021. Let's make sure that this pandemic does not get us. Stay safe. Let's follow the rules, and let's make sure that we look after ourselves, but everyone else around us and our loved ones especially.